Welcome to another episode of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. It's episode 45, and I'm sure you know by now we have Ernie Francis Jr. on the show. Now, before we get into our conversation with Ernie, make sure to go check out our last episode with three-time NHRA Funny Car champion Ron Capps. Now back to today's show with Ernie Francis Jr. Most of you probably know him by his time in the Superstar Racing Experience, where he sort of burst onto the motorsports scene with his win at Indianapolis Raceway Park in 2021. Now he's competing full-time in Indy NXT with Force Indy. In today's show, we talk about his background in Trans Am racing and his unconventional path to IndyCar's feeder series. With that, go ahead and sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack, maybe a bowl of pasta for something new and spicy for funsies, and enjoy episode 45, A Rising Force with Ernie Francis Jr. Tell me a little bit where it all began for you and just what was that spark for you that got you hooked on racing to begin with?
Yeah, so for me, I was basically born into the sport. It's been everything I've always known. My dad had raced since the mid 80s in SCCA sports car racing. So when I was born, I grew up at the racetrack watching him race. As soon as I turned 4 years old, got my first go-kart, and the love pretty much started there. Fell in love with driving, working on the go-kart, and just learned through the years, and then started racing cars at 13. Raced through Spec Miata, through Trans Am, and then got the opportunity to race in Indy NXT. And here we are now, 21 years later. And yeah, so it's been a pretty cool journey so far.
And the way you described it, it seems like this kind of really taken off here pretty quickly. Just going back, you and your dad have kind of done this together. Just how cool is that to be able to? I mean, obviously still doing it with your dad. Just how cool is that to be able to go through your career and have him right alongside you through every step of the way?
No, it's been awesome. To have that family support throughout my career has been a really great thing to have. Me and my dad bond really well at the racetrack. We both we what I really want to get out of it when I'm there at the track. And we've done a good job of achieving our goals throughout the years in the different series we've raced in. This is a new challenge here, racing in Indy NXT. Not racing underneath my father's team, so it's different. He's more of just a fan there at the racetrack, not really wrenching on my car, doing all the work like before. So it's been an interesting dynamic to get used to, but we're enjoying it.
And it seems like you've kind of had a little bit of a different career path than most, just with running both stock cars and open wheel cars, just to kind of get your footing and where you want to be. Just how did Trans Am end up sticking for you?
Yeah, my career path to get to Indy NXT has been a lot different than some of these other drivers. Most of them came up through the open wheel ranks, through all the junior divisions. For me, Indy NXT was really like my first big real entry point into open wheel racing. So it was an eye opener for me. But my career has always been about sports car racing. That's what I grew up doing. That's what I always saw myself doing for the longest time. Found a nice home in Trans Am, won 7 championships in that series. Really, liked how those cars drove, really felt like they fit my driving style, kind of that GT sports car style of racing. And then, tried out some stock car stuff, raced in SRX, had a great time out there, and realized that, I'm pretty decent on ovals too. So, that was always kind of my idea was, I'm either going to race sports cars or I'm going to go NASCAR. And then the opportunity came up with Roger Penske and Force Indy to do this Indy NXT program. And it was a lot different than what I thought I was going to be doing. But I've been enjoying it, been really taking a liking to it. It's been a totally different journey for me, but I think it's been pretty fun so far.
And we'll get to Force Indy here in a second. You mentioned 7 titles in Trans Am. I mean, that's pretty crazy to be able to say that, just to have that benchmark. Just how would you describe those years of dominance and how you guys ended up getting to that point where you're a powerhouse in that series?
Yeah, it's been a lot of years in that series. I think I raced in that series for 8 or 9 years total. And then won the championship 7 of those years. It's been a long journey. I wrenched on the cars a lot. I worked on them all myself. Built the cars back at the shop. I pretty much worked full time at the shop. Back home, would build my car, build customer cars. Because that would basically fund my racing, would be the customer support that we had out there. So we'd be running anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 customer cars throughout a weekend, and that would just help fund my racing for the weekend. But part of that deal was I had to help work on their cars and I had to work on my car as well. So, it was an interesting, learning curve for me to, be a mechanic and the driver of my car. I really appreciate it though, because, I learned so much about how the car works and what makes it go fast. And it really gives me a nice understanding of what changes are going to do what. And I think it really helps me out as I progress through my career. But, we just seemed to find something that worked when we got into Trans Am. I found a setup that worked with me on the cars, and we always seemed to have a consistent car, and we were always pretty fast and could put together race wins. Yeah, it just added up to the 7 championships. So it was pretty awesome. It's been quite a journey through the series of Trans Am.
And you end up getting the call to run SRX full time 2021. I mean, just had you spoken to Ray Evernham or Tony Stewart or anyone within that series prior to getting that call, or was that a complete kind of cold call shock type of thing?
Yeah, so I had met with Ray a few times before that. Ray had been racing in SVRA with one of his vintage Trans Am cars for about a year. So I had met him a bunch of times, got introduced to him at the SCCA runoffs at VIR about a year prior. And, we became good friends. We would talk about different setups. I'd help him out with some things on his car, different little tips to help him get it going around a little bit quicker. And towards the end of the year before, towards the end of 2020, he had mentioned that, he was trying to put together this series SRX, and, if he can make it work, he'd like to have me come race a few of them. And, I said, of course, I'd be, totally down for that. We'll see what happens. And then, about 2 or 3 months later, got a call from him, asked if I'm still ready for that. And of course, signed right up. And the rest is history. Ran that full season, got the win at Lucas Oil, finished second in the championship, met a bunch of cool guys. And that really helped, put my name on the map a little bit, and I think got me where I am now.
And all of a sudden, you're competing against guys like Stewart and Bobby Labonte, Elio Castroneves, all these guys that are just renowned names in motorsports. Heading into that first week of action, kind of not knowing, what to expect, is how much of an eye opener was that for you to kind of go into week one and have all these guys that, I mean, you've grown up watching and know how they are as drivers and their history.
It was really cool for me. Going into this, I was pretty nervous. I felt like a fan going in there. These are all guys that I looked up to my entire life. So to be racing against them was really awesome. And they took me under their wing a little bit. They're really cool guys like Elio, Tony Stewart, Paul Tracy, Kanan. These guys were really awesome with me for the whole year, and still talk with them to this day. They've been super helpful. So, I thought it was really cool, but going into that week one, man, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But once you get on the racetrack, it doesn't matter who you're next to, whether it's Elio Castroneves, Tony Stewart, or, some guy at a rental car go-kart track, you want to beat them. So, you get that mentality no matter what. And once you put your helmet on, it doesn't matter. So, just went to work from there.
You mentioned you won an IRP. Just how crucial was that for you, just in propelling you to Indy NXT? Because I know, you ended up getting the call from Roger Penske later on in the year then too.
Yeah, I think that was very crucial to get my name kind of out there. I think, people know about me a little bit from Trans Am, but Trans Am doesn't really have the nationwide recognition that it used to have. So, to get that win in SRX really kind of put my name out there in front of a lot of people. And, I thought I was going NASCAR racing after that. I was like, man, I got this stuff pretty down packed, and then got that call from RP, and, things kind of switched up there a little bit, but really happy with where we ended up. But yeah, I think that I credit SRX and that win to getting me to where I am for sure.
And, just as around the same age as you are, just how does a 23, 24-year-old comprehend the fact that Roger Penske wants you to come drive, for one of his programs? And just for me, it just sounds like kind of those weird kind of dream type of feelings where, as a fan who's watched, Roger Penske's name and all the history that he's got, but just from your perspective, what are the feelings like, and just kind of comprehending and digesting all of that information?
Yeah, it's one of those like dream scenarios that people always think of, like, oh, if I got that call from, one of these guys. So it was pretty shocking. When I got that phone call, I didn't think it was real for a second. I was taking a nap in Brainerd, Minnesota. We were getting ready to load in for a Trans Am race, and I was just taking a nap in the RV, and got woken up to a phone call, and guy on the phone says he's Roger Penske, and I thought I was still sleeping for a minute, still having a dream, but yeah, it ended up being real. set up a meeting for 2 weeks later, met with him, and put this deal together. But yeah, it is one of those like dream come true kind of things that no matter how any of this ends up, it's going to be one of those things that I'm going to remember forever and be pretty grateful for.
Now that you've settled into Force Indy, this is year two now. Just how has that transition been for you, coming from the closed wheel to the open wheel cars?
Yeah, last year was pretty tough for us, trying to adapt to it, as well as being a new team in Indy Lights. At the time, it was trying to just get a handle on the car, try to get a handle on how to race it, the setups. So, it took a while for us to kind of come into it and figure out where we needed to be at. I think we had pace. We just, struggled to kind of put it all together on a race weekend. This year now, year two, we're with HMD Motorsports with Force Indy. So, have a lot of teammates, a lot of data with us, and it really helps out. I think we've definitely had more speed. We got our first podium at Detroit, which has been really awesome. This year's been pretty tough as well, though. I had a big reset with my wrist at Barber. Broke my wrist lap one there of the race, and it's been a struggle since then. It's been like trying to bounce back, trying to get to 100%. Still don't feel like I'm all the way there yet. Working on physical therapy, just trying to get my wrist back to where it feels like it used to be. So it's kind of, put me on the back foot a little bit there, trying to battle back from that. But was really happy to get that Detroit podium, first race back after the injury. And then, just keep battling up from there. We got our first oval coming up here at Iowa, and really excited for that. I think we've been pretty decent on ovals. I know that I'm pretty good on them and some stock cars, so we'll see how it goes in this Indy NXT car.
And what was the biggest eye-opening experience for you in year one, just as you're trying to, digest everything and make sure that you're kind of, ready for the moment? Just what kind of stood out to you and was kind of caught you off guard in a way in that first year?
I think the competition level was definitely what kind of caught me out. And I had to kind of reassess what I wanted to do with it and how I needed to perform when I go out there, because these drivers were racing against in Indy NXT. They're some of the top drivers in the country trying to make it into open wheel. These guys are right on the doorstep of racing an IndyCar, and we've seen it with drivers that have progressed from Indy NXT into IndyCar, that it doesn't take long to become an IndyCar winner if you're competitive in Indy NXT. So I think these are some of the best drivers in the country, and coming into it was kind of a shock to see how fast some of these guys are and how close the times are throughout these qualifying sessions, throughout these practice sessions, throughout these races. And I think you have to find a different level of your driving when you're out there. And I think it's taken a little bit to try and kind of find that, but I feel like I'm starting to understand it and starting to get into my own out there, and understanding what it takes to get out there, be competitive, and try to win.
I know the ultimate goal for you guys, for Force Indy, is to get to IndyCar and the Indy 500. Just seeing the progression over the last 2 years, what do you feel is a reasonable timeline that you might be able to see that happen and come to fruition?
I think one of the next things will just be focusing on, trying to focus on the rest of the season, trying to get good results if we can. That's the biggest thing right now, is just try to get all the good results that we can for the last 7 races of the season. And then, see what happens in the off season. Hopefully I can get a test in the IndyCar at some point, and, see where things go from there. But, right now my main focus is trying to finish off the season strong and show that I deserve to be here.
And final couple of questions here. You'll be running at least one SRX race. Just what are your expectations of that, and just how you've seen the series grow the past 3 years now that you've been a part of it in some shape or form?
SRX is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to go there and race the race at Lucas Oil. I think it's going to be a pretty cool place. Racing on dirt has been something totally new for me, but we've been pretty fast on dirt every time I've been on it. So enjoying it. I think it's going to be a fun Thursday night. Get to go out there and just kind of let it all hang out a little bit, not have to stress as much about long season, multiple races. I just got one race, go out there and just lay it all out there on the track and see what happens. Hopefully we can walk away with a win.
Final question. We had a fan question, and they asked, how are you as a passenger / driver in a street car?
As a driver, I don't think I speed too much. My girlfriend thinks I do, but I don't think so. I'm very smooth when I drive on the street. As a passenger, I'm not very good. Like, if people start driving too fast or trying to weave between cars, I'm grabbing onto the handle, freaking out a little bit, because kind of worries me seeing what other people do on the street. But yeah, I don't think I'm too bad of a driver myself on the street.
I was kind of curious because I know, like, I've heard some drivers are like very critical of, like, let's say you're the passenger, you're like, man, you want to turn here, that kind of thing. Is it kind of the same case as you, or
Yeah,
not really?
I'll try to coach people a little bit on where what the apex is, where they need to turn. They could have gone around to off ramp a little bit better than what they did. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm pretty cool in the passenger seat.
No, Ernie, thanks for taking the time, and good luck the rest of the season. You got Iowa, and thanks for taking the time. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 45, A Rising Force with Ernie Francis Jr. Being around Ernie's age, it's still pretty crazy how his career really started to take off. I mean, having an off-the-cuff opportunity to compete against some of your heroes to prove yourself is daunting, to say the least. But Ernie made the most of it, and now he's positioned himself for a potential IndyCar ride here soon, which is really, really cool. If you liked that episode, make sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, your grandparents, your dog, whoever, maybe your cat. I don't know about cats, but anyway, watch out for more episodes coming your way soon. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later.